So doesn't it also mean now that Disney owns The Simpsons?
It does.
I kind of remember that The Simpsons predicted this just a couple years ago.
Please don't tell the supervisor I have the flu.
We're broke.
The country is broke? How can that be?
If you've never seen a cartoon that humorously predicts the future, then it's time to meet The Simpsons. Believe it or not, this animated show has accurately predicted major world events, political outcomes, and even what Earth might look like in the future. The list of predictions goes on, and some are downright spooky. So what exactly are these predictions, and what should you really be paying attention to? Join us as we take a deep dive into the top 20 Simpsons predictions that are shaking the world today. The Shard. As it turns out, Lisa's Wedding in the 1990s was a blockbuster when it comes to predicting futuristic developments beyond our imagination. During this scene set in London, viewers got a tour of the city through the eyes of the Simpsons. The usual landmarks like Big Ben and Tower Bridge were there, but what stood out was a tall, pointy skyscraper in the background. At the time, nothing like this existed in London. Fast forward to March 2009, and construction began on the Shard, which would become the tallest building in the UK and an architectural marvel. What's even more shocking is how much the Shard resembles the structure shown in The Simpsons. To this day, no one knows whether the episode inspired the Shard's construction or if The Simpsons simply had a glimpse of the future. The next prediction is nothing short of amazing. Nobel Prize prediction. In an episode from 2010, The Simpsons seem to have predicted the 2016 outcome of a Nobel Prize award. In the episode, we see Martin, Milhouse, Database, and Lisa betting on the winners of various Nobel Prize categories. For the award winner of economics, Milhouse had bet on Bengt Holmstrom, but had lost to Martin, who had picked Jagdish Bhagwati. Milhouse, however, wasn't entirely wrong when you look at things from the perspective of the future.
It's time for the noblest Nobel Prize of all, the Peace Prize.
I would kill for that.
In 2016, Holmstrom, alongside Oliver Hart, took the prize home, just like Milhouse predicted 6 years earlier. It shows that even the words of a child in The Simpsons shouldn't be taken lightly. Fox purchase. All who saw the episode of The Simpsons, which aired on November 8, 1998, have agreed that it was a prophecy as clear as day, although it seemed unbelievable at the time. In the episode, The Simpsons predicted that Disney would buy Fox, which was somewhat shocking. Mind you, this was many years before anyone even imagined Disney acquiring Fox, and so the intrigue of the prediction was kind of palpable. How did they predict it? The prediction was splendidly displayed in a scene where a sign read, 20th Century Fox, a division of Walt Disney Co. So how did this episode come about? We turn to the writer of the episode, Richard Apple, for answers. According to him, the scene was added because of a general sense that Disney would soon own everything. While that's a pretty bold statement, no one can argue against the fact that the prediction is true today. Since 2017, Disney has gracefully purchased 20th Century Fox for a little over $52 billion. Thus, it wasn't strange to see the Mouse House characters intermingling with Springfield's quirky residents in a 2021 episode. The mass of the Higgs boson. The mass of the Higgs boson particle wasn't officially discovered until 2012, but The Simpsons seemed to have predicted it 14 years earlier. In a 1997 episode titled The Wizard of Evergreen Terrace, Homer decides to become an inventor and writes a complicated math equation on a chalkboard. Although penned by episode writer David X. Cohen and his astronomer friend David Sheminovich, the equation appeared meaningless at the time. That changed when physicist Simon Singh revealed that Homer's equation was remarkably close to the actual mass of the Higgs boson particle. Imagine The Simpsons outpacing scientists. What are the odds? Let's move on to another shocking prediction. COVID-19. Who would have thought The Simpsons could predict something as monumental as the COVID-19 pandemic? In one episode, Springfield's lake gets polluted, leading to an outbreak of disease. This results in the town being enclosed in a giant glass barrier to stop the spread. The parallels to COVID-19 are striking. When the pandemic hit, the world had to quarantine, and strict measures were put in place to curb the virus. Once again, The Simpsons showed they had a knack for capturing future global events. Smartwatches. In a 1995 episode, we see a future scene of The Simpsons where Lisa and her fiancé prepare for their wedding in 2010. This was obviously set in the future, and one thing that caught our attention was the sight of Lisa's fiancé, Hugh Parkfield, speaking into his wrist device, which seemed to be both a watch and a telephone. Now, let's get this straight. While smartwatches were already in their infancy at the time the episode aired, the first set of smartwatches that functioned as phones weren't created until 1999. This shows how familiar The Simpsons seemed to be with what the future might hold. While smartwatches that could function as phones were also featured in spy movies, they were never really shown as devices for regular citizens, so there's no arguing that The Simpsons nailed it with this one again. Fan response. Now this prediction takes a somewhat personal turn, as a scene in The Simpsons replicates itself in real life. Let's look at Season 2's Brush with Greatness, where Beatles drummer Ringo Starr is featured. In the episode, Ringo decides to respond to very old fan mail that had been sent to him. What happens next is truly emotional. Among the old fan mail was a letter from Marge, which she had sent during her high school days. The scene is emotional, with Ringo's response stirring happiness in fans' hearts even after so many years. Now, in real life, this story seems to mirror what happened with Paul McCartney instead of Ringo Starr. Just as it was portrayed in The Simpsons, Paul McCartney later discovered a tape recorded by fans in 1963, 50 years later. Thanks to the BBC's help, these fans finally received McCartney's written response and were surprisingly thrilled about it, even though it took 5 decades. Legalizing marijuana in Canada. In another incredible moment, we witnessed The Simpsons making an extraordinary prediction about the future of the Canadian healthcare system. In the episode, Mr. Burns cancels Springfield's prescription drug plan, which leads many other companies to do the same. As a result, people start frequently visiting Canada for affordable healthcare. On one of these trips, Ned Flanders meets his Canadian doppelganger, who offers him a puff of marijuana, telling him it's legal in Canada. The amazing thing about this episode is that marijuana isn't legal in Canada at the time, but The Simpsons seem to take a long pointer at the future through this episode. 14 years after the episode aired, marijuana was legalized in Canada in October 2018. Isn't that evidence enough that The Simpsons is no ordinary show? Tiger attack. Another chilling prediction came from an episode where Springfield legalizes gambling. Mr. Burns opens a casino and hires Gunter and Ernst to stage a tiger performance. While their act is initially successful, disaster strikes when a white tiger named Anastasia attacks them during a performance. 10 years later, in a tragic real-life event, Roy Horn of Siegfried and Roy was attacked by a tiger named Manticore during their Vegas show. The attack left him with severe injuries, forcing him to retire from show business. It's eerie how closely this mirrored the events in The Simpsons. Now, the next prediction is somewhat exciting. Lady Gaga predictions. In the episode Lisa Goes Gaga, Lady Gaga visits Springfield and performs while hovering over the crowd in a silver blue outfit. Fans saw it as a playful tribute to Lady Gaga's eccentric style, but in 2017, Gaga's real-life Super Bowl 51 performance matched the episode almost exactly, complete with her floating over the audience in a similar outfit. Trump as president. One of the most famous Simpsons predictions was Donald Trump becoming president. In a 2015 episode titled Trump-tastic Voyage, Homer floats by a sign that says, Trump 2024. Fast forward to the present, and we know how this story ends. The 2024 presidential election has come and gone, and Trump is indeed the president. It's yet another example of how The Simpsons consistently manages to foresee events that seem unimaginable at the time. Airplane restaurant. In another episode, Homer and Marge cancel their anniversary plans at the Gilded Truffle and end up at an airplane-themed restaurant called Up, Up, and Buffett. Though chaotic in the episode, airplane restaurants eventually became a trend in real life, offering unique dining experiences. Game of Thrones. In the 29th season episode known as The Simpsons, the Simpson family is seen in an alternate medieval kingdom called Springfieldia. Here, everything seems normal until Homer revives a dragon, which ends up destroying a nearby village. Viewers went wild 2 years later when a familiar scene played out in Game of Thrones. Daenerys, riding Drogon, used the dragon to raise King's Landing to the ground. It's strikingly similar, and fans couldn't help but notice how The Simpsons might have seen it coming. Snake clubbing. Remember the 4th season episode called Whacking Day? In this episode, Springfield comes together for an annual event where they round up snakes and slay them. It seemed like just another wacky Springfield tradition, but surprisingly, this predicted a real-life event. In 2016, the Python Challenge in Florida brought people together to hunt Burmese pythons, an invasive species, to protect the ecosystem. Who knew The Simpsons would call something so specific? Eat Up Martha. In a hilarious scene from The Simpsons that aired in 1994, we see Newton, an Apple device, attempting to autocorrect a handwritten message. Milton tries to write Beat Up Martin, but the Apple Newton autocorrects it to Eat Up Martha. This funny moment was meant to mock the Apple Newton for its poor handwriting recognition. But here's the twist. The scene also predicted the frustrations that would come with autocorrect in handheld devices. At the time, autocorrect wasn't even a feature on handheld devices. It only existed in programs like Microsoft Word. By 2002, however, The Simpsons' prediction became a reality as autocorrect was introduced in handheld devices. Though still flawed today, autocorrect's introduction was undoubtedly shaped by such moments of mockery. Bloody billboard. One episode of The Simpsons shows Itchy and Scratchy putting up a horrifying interactive billboard to grab attention. This billboard sprayed a blood-like substance on passers-by and cars. While this seemed hilarious and ridiculous at the time, it became real in 2008. In New Zealand, a billboard in Auckland shocked people when it sprayed fake blood on prop cars as part of a campaign. Thankfully, no one was hurt, but the resemblance to the Simpsons episode is uncanny. Gym mat lunches. In a unique scenario, Principal Skinner cuts the school's budget so much that kids end up getting poor lunches. These meals were filled with newspapers and gym mats as fillers to save money. Shockingly, this seemingly far-fetched idea predicted something horrifying in the real world. In 2014, it was discovered that some fast food chains use azodicarbonamide, a chemical found in yoga mats, in their bread. This sparked outrage and proved that The Simpsons had a way of calling out societal problems before they even became widespread. Grease stealing. In the episode titled Lard of the Dance, Homer and Bart come up with a scheme to steal grease and sell it for profit. They don't stop at regular baking grease but go as far as stealing grease from the school and Krusty Burger. While this is funny, it turned out to be a sharp prediction of something that actually happened in 2012. That year, the price of cooking oil inflated, and grease theft became a real issue. Thieves even stole grease from McDonald's, proving that The Simpsons is no ordinary show after all. Yard Work Simulator. In the episode where the Simpson family visits Colonel Tex's traveling carnival, we see Bart begging for permission to go on a yard work simulator. Marge, of course, complains about her preference for him doing the real thing instead. The funny thing is that this episode was just a glimpse of the future. Today, modern gaming offers countless simulator experiences that turn boring chores into exciting digital activities. Whether it's farming or house cleaning, these games have become oddly popular. You can't really blame Marge for leaning towards reality, but The Simpsons once again gave us a peek at what's to come. Censoring David. In the second season episode of Itchy, Scratchy, and Marge, Michelangelo's statue of David goes on tour throughout the United States and makes a stop in Springfield. But some Springfield residents attempt to censor the statue's nudity, even suggesting covering it with a pair of jeans. This turned out to be a prediction of real-life events, as movements to censor nudity in classical art gained traction after the episode aired. Calls for statues like David to be clothed made headlines. What seemed absurd in The Simpsons ended up reflecting real cultural debates. The Scary Simpsons AI prediction. Artificial intelligence has long been heralded as the future of technology. But what happens when machines surpass human intelligence? Or talk more of your creativity and skills being replaced by AI, and you eventually become irrelevant? The Simpsons predicted this back in 2012, and it's scary to see how closely this prediction is becoming a reality. In the episode Replaceable You, Mr. Burns replaces Springfield's nuclear power plant workers with robots, and he tasked humans with training their mechanical replacements. Fast forward to today, and what could possibly happen next year, we're witnessing a similar phenomenon. Self-driving cars, robot waiters, and AI-powered automation are revolutionizing industries, with humans training AI to assume their roles. But The Simpsons didn't stop there. The episode Itchy and Scratchy Land showed these praised and adorable robots turning against their owners, and this is making people pay more attention to the darker side of these robots. People now own robots in their homes as assistants. Just imagine one day it actually malfunctioned and turned against you. That's a terrifying thing to think of, and this is just the beginning. Keep watching as we share more. Living on Mars. Have you ever thought about humans living on Mars? It sounds like science fiction, but it's becoming more realistic by the day. Who would have thought that The Simpsons would predict this? In one episode, Homer's family visits a research facility and learns about Exploration Incorporated, a project aimed at sending humans to Mars. It sounds familiar, right? But this episode was aired years back. NASA and private space companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin are already working on similar goals, and they are making progress. Simulations of the Martian environment are being developed to help astronauts adjust to life in space. It's amazing to think that we might actually see humans on Mars soon, but let's be real, there are still huge challenges to overcome. We need reliable life support systems, radiation protection, and efficient transportation, not to mention creating artificial gravity environments. Even with these issues, the progress is actually encouraging. Private companies are driving innovation, and international cooperation is growing. This particular Simpsons episode is becoming more realistic than we thought. The Party Posse. In a gripping episode from 2001, The Simpsons shared a frightening plot by the US Navy to brainwash children through subliminal messages in music. The Party Posse, which is a boy band formed of Bart, Milhouse, Nelson, and Ralph, became pawns in this psychological manipulation. This boy band's catchy hit song, Drop the Bomb, holds a dark secret, and the lyrics Yvonne et Nioche means join the Navy but spelt backwardly. But here is the thing about this episode. The prediction is about the dark messages that music passes to listeners, and it will misguide us even more in the future. It has created a lot of debates about the power of subliminal messaging in music. Some argue that hip-hop lyrics brainwashes listeners, while others point to hidden messages in classic rock songs, such as Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven, that it is promoting Satanism. Judas Priest has also faced accusations of spreading disturbing messages in their music. Guess what is next? World War III. The thing is, The Simpsons cartoon has consistently predicted different world issues which actually played out, and this has blurred the lines between the cartoon's fantasy and harsh reality. One of the most disturbing predictions that stands out is the show's multiple times is World War III. In one episode, loner Simpson Homer prepares his family for nuclear war, showing the devastating consequences of global conflict that we are not ready for. Another episode even kills it by showing a major worldwide crisis that clearly mirrors our current geopolitical tensions. Considering the current state of global politics and given everything that's going on, it's difficult not to wonder if we're headed toward another catastrophic war. The Simpsons' prediction is unsettling, especially given its track record of accuracy. This cartoon actually foresaw the Russian-Ukraine conflict, and see how everything just played out. But we hope this particular prediction remains fictional because no one wants that. Or is there anyone ready for it? The dark side of virtual reality. The Simpsons episode from the early 20s foresaw the repercussion of virtual reality technology next year. This episode was warning of its potential to disconnect us from reality in the future. The episode Friends and Family showed a world where people relied heavily on virtual flash glasses and feeding tubes, indulging in a calorie-free virtual existence. Fast forward to today, and more that will happen next year, Royal Caribbean's plans to introduce virtual reality dining experiences on their cruise liners echo. While the idea of immersive dining sounds enticing and exciting, the consequences portrayed in this episode is quite disturbing. As people become increasingly immersed in virtual realities, they lose touch with their surroundings and what is going on around them, and it will lead to disastrous consequences. Cars collide with pedestrians wearing headsets, and many more. This shows the dangers of overindulging in virtual reality technology. As we surrender to the allure of fake realities, we risk genuine human connections and our sense of reality. The episode's portrayal of virtual reality addiction also raises important questions about the impact on our mental health. The world is evolving, yes, but we should also be aware of the ripple effect of certain things. Now, to one of the most intriguing parts of this prediction: Ivanka Trump's possible future. The Simpsons' political predictions have continued to fascinate us, especially after correctly predicting Donald Trump's presidency.
Because in America, everything's way too early. See?
Their next prediction about Ivanka Trump has made everyone wondering if Ivanka will follow in her father's footsteps. In a 2016 episode, Homer wears an Ivanka 2028 campaign button, which means she could be running for president or taking up a higher position in politics. This wasn't the only time The Simpsons referenced Ivanka's possible future in politics. In 2017, another episode showed Trump's 100th day in office, with a scene where Ivanka replaces Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the Supreme Court, wearing a very beautiful robe and earrings from her own collection. This has drawn people's attention more to Ivanka's political ambitions. While Ivanka hasn't announced any presidential plans or any bigger position, her involvement in politics is well documented. As a senior advisor to her father during his presidency, she played a big role in shaping his policy. Some people are saying that The Simpsons' prediction might become a reality sooner, considering Ivanka's experience and influence. However, only time will tell if she'll pursue one of the nation's highest offices. Apple Vision Pro. Again, The Simpsons cartoon predicts the future of the Apple Vision Pro. You know the way this new Apple technology is going? Well, The Simpsons showed something similar way back in 2016. In one episode, people wore special headsets that let them see and do anything they wanted, without even moving, but then it looked like magic, right? Now Apple has created something super similar called the Apple Vision Pro. It's like wearing a tiny TV on your face. You can play games, watch movies, or even visit places without leaving your room. The Simpsons predicted this 7 years ago. How did they even do it? But here is the thing. It looks like in 2025, people will now become more immersed in this technology. Hold on, there are still more mesmerizing predictions. Stay tuned for it. Anyways, do you know what's next on this list? Flying cars becomes a reality. In this episode, the show featured flying cars becoming a part of the transportation system, and even more common. It sounds like fiction or something that may not happen as it then, to some even now. It sounds all cartoonish, but this is becoming a reality. Several companies have started developing and testing their own flying cars. Other companies have also joined the queue, producing their own versions. Even Elon Musk has made a hint about releasing his first flying car in 2025. It is not so surprising that The Simpsons' prediction will likely play out, because this is not going to be the first time they are predicting a technology breakthrough, and it actually happens in reality. What with the writers, anyways. The use of holograms. In this episode, it shows a character getting a hologram message about his boy band event. As it then, it all looked like science fiction. Now seeing the changes in the world today, holographic technology is becoming a reality. As we approach 2025, it's likely that holograms will become very common. What is actually surprising is that The Simpsons writers envisioned holograms decades ago, when such technology was unheard of. Their minds saw beyond the present, telling us about innovations that would change our lives. The Simpsons' track record of predicting future tech is just so impressive. Holograms are just one example. How did they imagine a future that seemed impossible at the time? Well, that is one of the things that is always left unanswered. The last predictions on this list is the most baffling of all. Sight tight for it. The future of cryptocurrency. Who knew the Simpsons episode would forecast the future of cryptocurrency? In one of the episodes, the Simpsons predicted the 2025 crypto bull market and even mentioned the top 5 cryptos. These coins are expected to dominate the 2025 market. First, this episode was aired years back when cryptocurrency was not really a thing, and it even predicted what would happen in the year 2025. Well, let's all watch and see how everything will unfold. Paths to Glory. In the Simpsons episode Paths to Glory, Lisa takes the stage with an ambitious invention, which was a car powered entirely by solar energy. She enters the alternative energy derby, excited to show the potential of renewable energy. Just as she's about to cross the finish line, a Duff beer blimp swoops in air to block the sun. This makes her car not to move. The scene ends with people pointing and laughing at Lisa for failing, making her feel bad. But aside from this humor, this scene actually passes a disturbing message. Lisa's solar-powered car shows a hopeful way toward green energy, only to be thwarted by the corporate giant Duff beer. This act of sabotage feels uncomfortably meaningful. It shows the continuous struggles of green energy in the real world, but suppressed by industries holding on to traditional power sources. But at the same time, letting green energy take over everything, will it really be a good thing? Can we live with that? Like, will it be enough? And again, what seems like another comedic twist from The Simpsons, which was acted years back, shows what is truly going on and what we do expect in the future. The Simpsons has always amazed us with its accuracy. Whether it's just clever writing or lucky guesses, it gets us thinking about what might really happen. Everyone is literally curious about how the producers of the show just predict these things. Well, as we look forward to 2025 and years ahead as well, we will see what will unfold and what will not. Actually now, some of these predictions seem silly. Already most of The Simpsons' previous predictions that played out seem silly also. Donald Trump, touching a glowing orb. In 2017, an image of then-President Donald Trump touching a glowing orb in Saudi Arabia went viral, sparking countless memes and wild theories. But here's where it gets extraordinary. The Simpsons seemed to predict this moment years before it actually happened.
2002 episode of The Simpsons that eerily mirrors real-life events. It shows Donald Trump touching a glowing orb with 2 Middle Eastern-looking men. Well, last month, President Trump did just that with the King of Saudi Arabia and the President of Egypt. So, did The Simpsons really predict the future?
In a 2002 episode titled Treehouse of Horror 14, Homer Simpson becomes part of a plot involving the wealthy elite and, in one scene, finds himself surrounded by a mysterious group touching a glowing orb. The strange similarity between this fictional moment and the real-life event left fans and conspiracy theorists wondering if The Simpsons had once again peeked into the future. Fast forward to 2024, and this prediction has become even more intriguing. What made this prediction even more fascinating is that the glowing orb in the real world had a much different context. It was part of a ceremony to open a new anti-extremism center in Riyadh, and Donald Trump is seen touching the orb with some Middle Eastern presidents. People now look back at this strange event, questioning whether it was just a bizarre coincidence or if there's something more to the predictions from The Simpsons. The image of Trump with the orb has become iconic, symbolizing a surreal moment in politics and the accuracy of The Simpsons when predicting real-world events. Suppression of green energy. In The Simpsons, some predictions hit closer to home than we'd like to admit. One of the strangest predictions relates to the suppression of green energy.
Tonight's game is brought to us by something special. The kite's best friend, the flag's partner in patriotism. You've seen cherubs blow it from map corners, the wind!
In the 2007 movie The Simpsons, Springfield faces an environmental disaster due to pollution. Lisa Simpson, the show's voice of reason, tries to push the town towards using green energy. But instead of embracing the solution, the town's leaders suppress her efforts under the influence of big corporations and short-sighted politics. The message is clear. The world could be heading for a disaster if we don't take green energy seriously. Fast forward to 2024, and this prediction seems more relevant than ever. Despite advancements in renewable energy technologies, powerful forces are still working to suppress green energy. These forces include big oil companies, confident political leaders, and even some media outlets that spread misinformation about climate change. The fight for green energy feels like an uphill battle, as Lisa faced in Springfield. What makes this prediction so accurate is how it mirrors real-world events. As we move into 2024, the prediction from The Simpsons reminds us of what's at stake. Just like in Springfield, we're faced with a choice: embrace green energy and protect our planet, or let the forces of suppression win. The future is in our hands, and we must ensure it doesn't end like an episode of The Simpsons. Now you're not ready for this next prediction: fate of George Clooney. In the unpredictable world of The Simpsons, predicting the fate of celebrities has always been a scary yet intriguing part of the show. One prediction that has caught the eye of fans is the fate of George Clooney in 2024. In a 2000 episode of The Simpsons, a quick, seemingly throwaway gag shows a future where George Clooney, the sophisticated Hollywood actor, has had a rather unexpected downfall. The show depicts him as a washed-up actor who has lost his charm and fame, reduced to doing low-budget movies and struggling to stay relevant. This brief scene was meant to be a joke, but fans have started to wonder if there's more to it over time. Surprisingly, as we enter 2024, the prediction seems to carry a strange weight. George Clooney, known for his roles in blockbuster films and status as a Hollywood icon, has stepped back from the limelight in recent years. While Clooney is still respected and admired, his acting career has taken a quieter turn, with fewer significant roles and more focus on directing, producing, and his philanthropic efforts. This shift in his career mirrors the fictional fall from grace that The Simpsons hinted at. But what makes this prediction intriguing is the strange accuracy with which The Simpsons has previously forecasted other events. Clooney's career isn't that bad, as the show joked. Still, the idea of a beloved star fading from the spotlight feels oddly familiar in the context of the series' strange foresight. Hologram takes over. In 2024, one of The Simpsons' most fascinating predictions is coming to life with the idea of holograms taking over various aspects of our lives. This idea was first mentioned in a 1995 episode, Homer the Great. In this episode, Homer joins a secret society called the Stonecutters.
Ah, here it is! The Stonecutters! This is it! My ticket in! They have to let me join if I'm a son of a member!
Where he's treated like a VIP and even encounters a futuristic, holographic version of himself. Flash forward to 2024, and holograms are no longer just a quirky part of TV shows. They are becoming an integral part of our daily lives. Companies like Microsoft are developing HoloLens, which is a mixed reality headset.
Mixed reality allows us to find new ways to express creatively and also problem solve creatively.
It blends digital content with the natural world using augmented reality, AR. It features see-through lenses that project holographic images onto the user's accurate worldview. This allows users to interact with both physical and virtual objects simultaneously. Now, you might actually be right if you think they're starting to replace real-life interactions. For example, companies use holograms for virtual product launches and promotional events. In some places, holographic customer service representatives answer questions and solve issues, making businesses more efficient. But what's particularly intriguing is how The Simpsons managed to foresee this trend decades ago. Now, as holograms become more sophisticated and widespread, it feels like the show was ahead of its time, envisioning a future where digital and physical worlds merge more seamlessly. What do you think about these predictions of The Simpsons? Let us know your opinions in the comment section below. Remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Click on the next video displayed on your screen, and you will enjoy it.